Other analysts looking at the White House stoush between Zelensky and Trump last week say that Trump's intention all along was to make others step up to the plate and fund more, especially Europe. And that strategy has worked. European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, met Sunday in London. And they are stepping up. Sky News UK's defence analyst Professor Michael Clark explained what that meeting was all about.
It's a plan to show that Zelensky is the president of Ukraine, that the Europeans are sticking with him. They believe that he is the rightful president, that he shouldn't be giving up his role. It's a matter for Ukraine who they have as their president. And they want to back him. And this is a very deliberate meeting to show that the Europeans want to back him. And what they're saying is that they want to be able to tell the Americans, look, if there is some sort of peace deal, we are working towards, it's a step-by-step approach, being able to put something into the pot that will make a difference. Something military maybe, but certainly some sort of backup. But if there can't be a peace deal, they're also saying to Zelensky that we'll continue to support you. If you have to fight on, and goodness knows what the strategy would be behind that, we will do it.
Professor Michael Clark on Sky News UK this week. He went on to discuss the use by the Europeans of the term coalition of the willing in expressing their unity to defend Ukraine.
Now, talk to us about this coalition of the willing. It's a phrase that we're hearing more and more. It's a phrase that people will remember from way back in sort of 2003.
Yeah, coalition of the willing. Yeah, those who were prepared to stand with the United States in 2003 in the initial invasion of Iraq. Very controversial, very, very conflicted. And it was Britain and Australia. And we were the coalition of the willing. And the reason they use that phrase, of course, is because it appeals to the United States. They remember what the coalition of the willing was. And what Keir Starmer is doing when he uses that phrase is say, remember 2003? We stuck with you through thick and thin. Even though we had our doubts, we stuck with you then. So maybe think about that.
So who is in this new coalition of the willing? Well, the hub of it is Britain and France, the two major military powers in Europe.
Italy is almost certainly in it. Giorgia Meloni was there yesterday and was making positive statements. I think she'll be in it. I think the Canadians will be in it as well. Not on this map. Trudeau was there as well. But who's not in it? I mean, Spain have said that they won't go into it. Germany has said that they can't yet go into it. I mean, Scholz, the Chancellor, is giving way to Friedrich Merz when he gets his government together, so he's not in a position to make a commitment. Poland, interestingly, have said no. Now, Poland's got an army of 110,000 and a lot of modern equipment. The Poles won't go into it, mainly because they worry that their 110,000 they made in Poland. I mean, look at where they are. I mean, there's Poland, here's Belarus, that's Kaliningrad, which is a little piece of Russia. The Poles feel very exposed to Russian pressure, and the Poles feel a responsibility to, just behind this label, the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Northern Europe. And so the Poles don't want to commit themselves to Ukraine in case they need their army for other purposes. And they're worried that this thing might spin out of control. So who is not in it is as important as who is in it.
That was defence analyst Professor Michael Clark on Sky News UK this week. One country that knows the threat that Moscow poses is Finland. Its Prime Minister Alexander Stubb was one of the men at the meeting in London, and he spoke to Bloomberg News afterwards.
Sometimes public diplomacy doesn't work, but in these kind of situations, I think you have to be Finnish. Take a deep breath, take a cold bath, sauna, breathe, get back to the negotiating table. These things happen sometimes.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is to get President Zelensky and President Trump to communicate again and to get a minerals deal. I think that'll probably be a tipping point for a bigger deal towards a ceasefire and then towards peace negotiations. I don't think we are as far away as probably the public indicates. One of the things that we're trying to do in London with this summit organized by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is to get a reading of the 3 meetings that were held with President Trump last week, take the best parts of it and find a way forward.
What does Europe need to do now, though?
We need to have a plan. One of the problems is that we have sort of this cacophonic diplomacy. We have different types of groupings and organizations dealing with different types of things. If we want to have an initiative, there needs to be a European and Ukrainian peace plan with which we can then talk with President Trump and later on with President Putin.
That's Finland's Prime Minister Alexander Stubb giving a bit more insight there into the European thinking. He says the plan will have 3 phases, putting Ukraine into a position of strength, first of all, via military, political and financial support before negotiations begin to put pressure on Russia.
And then find some kind of security arrangements where Ukraine takes the lead, Europe supports, and the US provides the backstop. That's stage number one. Give that as a plan. Stage number two is a ceasefire, and stage number three is actual peace negotiations.
Prime Minister Stubb says if it was up to him, Europe would have a special envoy set up to represent all European governments in this process. Meanwhile, he says Vladimir Putin simply cannot be trusted. He's broken ceasefire agreements 25 times since 2014.
The only thing that Vladimir Putin understands is power. You show any kind of a weakness and he will basically go after you. There's a Russian saying that if you use a knife or a bayonet and push in and it's soft, go all the way. If it's hard, pull back. Let's be hard.
Can President Trump actually trust Vladimir Putin? Again,
I don't think anyone can trust Vladimir Putin. But don't underestimate the capacity of Donald Trump to negotiate a deal, and a tough deal. The most important thing we have to understand that if that deal shows any kind of weakness or loss for Ukraine, we have all lost.
You may have noticed if you've been overseas on holiday recently that you can log into your streaming services like Netflix or Prime in other countries, but the shows they offer are different and sometimes even better. You're paying good money for those subscription services. Why can't you watch? Well, with a virtual private network or VPN, you can log in from home here in Australia with an internet address from anywhere in the world. And big corporations and big government can't see where you are. Now, to be clear, criminals can still be actively found with police warrants, of course, but the average honest citizen will have their location protected from prying eyes of corporate marketers and government bureaucrats. If you sign up now with private internet access, we think they are the best VPN service out there. That's private internet access. As a viewer of The Other Side, you can get 83% off the price of your subscription and get online for less than $3 a month. Check it out right now. Go to piavpn.com/otherside. That's piavpn.com/otherside. It's a great service and a rock bottom price, and you're helping keep The Other Side going and growing. That was a segment from a recent episode of our fortnightly news commentary show, The Other Side, with me, Damian. If you liked it, support us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube right now so you don't miss a thing. It's totally free. Just click that subscribe button and the little bell. And check out our Other Side Unplugged show too, and join our mission to actually do something and change Aussie media for the better at othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Check it out now.